Okay, so I'm assuming that Hassan and Vlad had some conversations because Hassan wanted Vlad to take his full interview off from behind the paywall. You know, just the same way Pharaoh wanted Tasha K to, but she didn't. Well, it seems like he was successful because Vlad brought this from behind the paywall. And I've only seen that done with him probably years later, but, never right away. Now, first of all, you could have kept that interview behind the paywall. But at the same time, I'm starting to watch this because I want to hear uh, the things that Hassan is going to say on here. Because for those of you who may not have been around since Hassan first came out, I'm one of the same people who been on his neck, okay, for a lot of reasons. And we're not going to really get into that into detail right now. But I'm going to talk about this video, okay? And get off his neck? Probably never. I'll get off his neck when he get off the internet with his foolishness and, he go get some help. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who has that stance, right? Okay, so now I want y'all to hear this part where Hassan talks about, people don't get to the root cause of issues.
We sitting here on Vlad TV, one of the best in the game. You are arguing the best in the game, and it's like now you're leading down the path of questions where people can sit up there and say, okay.
Do I need to touch that? I don't need to touch that because we know how Hassan used to bang on Vlad, calling him a culture vulture and all that. But, he finally got his spot because say what y'all want. Vlad is good at what he does. And the number one thing that makes him good at what he does is he gets any and everybody on his channel. Some even repeatedly. Okay. A lot that I never would have thought, but that's what I got for thinking. I mean, he just recently interviewed Smokey Robinson. Okay. Smokey Robinson is almost 100 years old, a true legend. And he went on his show. So everybody goes to Vlad's show. So it is what it is. And y'all be watching. Let him have somebody on there you want to see. Y'all be watching. And the reason why I have Melly Mel on here is because Melly Mel is one of the many people who are, let's say, intimate to the situation, who would know, that has come out and said pretty much everybody knew about Bambaata. Just like people from Chicago say everybody knew about R. Kelly, which is sad. Okay, when we get to talk about underage people, this is very sad. So it's not in question that Hassan, was having inappropriate situations going on with Bambaata, but notice how I worded it. Okay, let's continue.
How can we deal with these situations in our community to as, because my whole thing is black people, we always have to go get the white hero. Because when it comes amongst ourselves, we ain't shit. Because the reality of it is so many black content creators swayed away from the original content of just being in a broken place of where we need healing.
Wait, okay, so is this an excuse for his broken content? Because we've seen him over the years and we know. I mean, look at the recent situation with his so-called shooting that occurred and look at how he got into that situation. Is he making an excuse for the type of content? We're supposed to display, because we've had Love and Hip Hop that really was the originator of the ratchetness that paved the way for us to have people like Christian Rock and Blue. So it's never been an absence of black people showing their brokenness online, right? And on TV. So
and instead of dealing with that, it's, he crashed out. Okay, why did I crash out? Let's get to the root of it.
Okay. Now, I agree with what he's saying right here. This is a very important point. This is the same thing that I say when we have these little white boys that shoot up schools, when we have these white men that are serial killers and, to hear them tell it, now it's become some of our people. But that's another story. People start hollering, oh, we need gun control. People shouldn't have guns. First of all, that's insane. Okay, it's our right. It's in the amendments. And a gun is necessary. If you don't like guns, fine. But I think it's ignorance when people say, oh, we need to get rid of the guns because people hurt people in other ways besides just guns. So you then need to do exactly what he said. Try and figure out, okay, what just happened? Why did this happen? Why possibly? Because it's happened too many times, right? Why did this person go out here and take all these fellow students or just innocent people who we don't think did anything to them personally? Why did they go out here and just eliminate them like that? And sometimes themselves too. But what's going on? What's causing this? It just doesn't make any sense at all. However,
bring about awareness in the communities of the things that goes, that have us in this state, the state of mind that they're in. Because every time you see a young black boy in the street, 12 or 13 years old, picking up a gun and end up in jail for 25 years out of his life, you have to ask, what caused so much anger that he wanted to take somebody's life?
That's a fact.
Where's this coming from?
I'm with that.
Okay, so let's talk about the root of what happened.
Okay.
Now,
here we go. Okay. Listen to Vlad ask Hassan, why don't he go get therapy? And listen to his response. Now, mind you, Hassan just went on a little rant about we need to talk about the root cause. What is the root cause? What is the problem? So what I'm translating is he's trying to say the same thing that I'm saying, I've been saying and thinking. We need to figure out what happened to make these children or adults get into that state. That's not healthy. That's not normal. It's not okay. Taking away guns is not going to stop that, right? Because if they want to use a knife, a bat, a car, a stapler, there's so many, your bare hands, mind you. So it's ridiculous to say, take away the guns. Why is this happening? And what can we do to possibly mitigate, eliminate, or, we got to deal with it, right? Okay. So that we can have it to go away or be less of it, right? Okay.
Yeah. So you grew up in these same projects that this incident happened, right?
Right.
Your background, is it Mexican?
No, African American, if that's what they would call us.
For some reason, Mexican children.
Okay, so Vlad, he says, let's get into the root cause, and he starts to ask Hassan, what you grew up around there in the projects, where was your dad? He said, my dad was a fiend. Okay, I've never heard him say that before, but okay. So he said his dad was a fiend. He really wasn't around, and his mother, she had a lot of health issues, right? And he's trying to get him to dive into it a little bit more and elaborate. And he's struggling with that, right? So that's a clear sign that, these are things that you need to talk about in a more therapeutic way, not just getting drunk on the internet, lashing out at strangers, not getting drunk and crying about it. And then when someone has their opinion of what you're publicly posting, you say things like you're going to get a jar of Vaseline and come into their home and get their babies. And you're going to, stick heavy DICK up in them. That type of stuff.
The same thing I went through, which is trickled down. I don't know if that's the family curse, but her stepfather was an African Bambaata. He was the same type of person. So, me growing up, I went through similar situations since I can go back to like the age of 5, going through multiple different people molesting me before African Bambaata.
Okay. Now. You old heads, the old school ones, the ones that were around when this controversy was going down. What was the biggest issues with Hassan and his story? One, he never was consistent. He never I'm not going to say he never told the truth. He just didn't tell the whole truth, right? Or accurate truths. To be so loud and to want to voice it up repeatedly over the internet, you think you had your whole life to sulk in this. You have your story together. But Doggy Diamonds, I believe, was the first, after he was in his car. It was Doggy Diamonds that got the first set of interviews with him. And Hassan could never, let's say, be accurate about what age he was when he started with Bambaata. Now, here he says 12. Okay, he said 12 before. He's also said maybe 13, 14, 15. Okay, he's been guessing at his age. Most of us have unfortunately been violated. You know what age you were. You either know what age you were or what grade you were in. Who was popular at that time? Who was the biggest star? What was the most popular song at that time? What era was it? You know, because it was so traumatizing. You cannot forget how you was trying to exist and live through that situation, whether you were going to school in the 5th grade with Miss Smith, or, you know, you had to go over your grandma's house all the time. You know, you remember. You remember. And there is a bit of difference between a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. That's why a 12-year-old is called a preteen. And when you're 15, you're almost an adult, according to the law. According to the law. And in some states, if you're 13, 14, 15, or 16, you are legally considered an adult. But those are the puberty stages. So you hit stages of puberty kind of fast in that window there, that, you know, between 12 and say 15. So there's a big difference between you when you are 12 and when you are 15. Okay, I'm going somewhere, because if people can say little girls are fast and this, that, and the third, you know, since the beginning of time, when they've been preyed upon, then we can also change the lens when it comes to young males. The point is, even at that age, and along with Hassan saying he was already violated, he understood that this was not okay. It wasn't a good thing. He has expressed clearly his love and desire for Bambaata and his willingness to participate in this, so that he could be a part of what was going on at the time, which we all can admit was huge. This was Bambaata. This was they call him the grandfather of hip hop. You know, Planet Rock. For anybody who don't know, just do your research. And, you know, this guy was huge, and history was in the making at that time. And this is New York. This is where hip hop originated. So, and everybody, this guy, Hassan, was on the cover, the back cover of one of the versions of, was it Low End? No, it wasn't Low End Theory. I think it was Tribe's first album. So he definitely wanted to be integrated. So we all understand all of that, right? But why is there significant inconsistencies with Hassan and his story? Why?
Okay, so how old were you when you first got molested?
Probably about 4 or 5 years old, young.
By who?
Yeah, it started off with a female that my mother had babysitting me.
Okay. Now he did, and these were his words. He did say in his earlier interviews that I was already broken in by the time I got to Bam. Okay. His words. I was already broken in. If y'all don't know who Melly Mel is, by the way, then please do your research, because this is you know, he's like Grandmaster Flash. Like he's one of the, you know, he's pretty much like Bambaata, not in that way, but as far as one of the OGs of hip hop, the originators and all that kind of stuff. Legend. So I have this sped up, by the way. Okay, I have this sped up. I think at this time, while he's
Okay.
giving these responses, I'm going to put it back on normal because I need you to hear. And I'm going to tell you the mark around where this is. I ain't going to be bold and play Vlad's video another time. But, okay, we're around close to the 20-minute mark, okay? You have to see Hassan in this video, and you have to see his reactions. Don't say, oh, he's shy and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we all know that's not true. Hassan been on the internet for a long time. There's no shyness or nervousness, even when talking about this. He has been the most vulgar when talking about Bambaata. Okay, and what happened to him, and details and specifics of what happened to him. And he said it more times than I can count on my fingers and toes, 2-3 times over. Okay, so, all right, now, continue, Hassan. Hold on. All right. Hold on.
Her sisters was living with a child predator. Her and her sisters had to go through the same thing I went through. It just trickled down. You know.
Okay, so we're still dealing with the root cause, right? And I just rewinded it a little bit, and he's, still right now he's talking about his mother, and she was a victim. So
I don't know if that's the family curse, but her stepfather was an African Bambaataa. He was the same type of person.
See, this is another reason why Hassan needs therapy, because for someone who has experienced this and who has come out publicly and yelled and cried for people to do this and do that, he doesn't even truly understand abuse, in my opinion, because for him to say he don't know if that's a family thing. So is he trying to say that he does, maybe it's just a curse of his family or something that happens in his family? This is something that happens in a lot of families. Most people who are abused, the people who were responsible for protecting them, they were abused as well. Very common. So
So, me growing up, I went through similar situations since I could go back to like the age of 5, going through multiple different people molesting me before Africa Bambaataa.
Okay. Now, I don't think that Hassan knows that he isn't the only one, unfortunately, who has been through something as tragic as this and molested multiple times. There's other channels that have people on there, and that's almost all they talk about. Now, they talk about their horrific life and life of crime and extreme ways of living, but they always go, the interviewer takes them back to childhood, and they talk about the horrors that happened to them, and this is the thing, right? A lot of people who, were even sold and abused as a child, mostly by their mother. Okay, I've seen that the most. But he isn't the only one. The difference is that a lot of people, when they come out and talk about these things, they have a little bit of formal education on it. And you usually get that through going through therapy. They give you education. They give you tools where you can go and educate yourself as well, so you can understand where this stems from. Now, Hassan doesn't seem to have that. And he's talking from a place of a person who has not healed in any way, of course, but he hasn't even made attempts to try to heal, yet he keeps coming on the internet and talking about this as if what? That's the question. What?
How old were you when you first got molested?
Probably about 4 or 5 years old. Young.
By who?
Yeah. It started off with a female that my mother had babysitting me.
Okay. You're 5 years old, man. That's a baby.
Yeah, so I was.
You don't even know.
Okay, we got a commercial.
Okay. You're 5 years old, man. That's a baby.
Yeah, so
You don't even know how to read at 5 years old.
I was molested by multiple people. It was a stair, it was just stair steps. And then Africa Bambaataa. He wasn't the first one. He was just The oldest one.
Okay, now, this is important where we're going here, but and I respect Vlad's compassion because it seems like regardless of all the junk Hassan has talked about him over the years, he does seem very sympathetic to Hassan throughout this and respectful, and he's not so far. I don't see him giving him any hard questions. I'm going to finish this interview because I want to know if he's going to die. I know he's seen this play out. Vlad been around a long time, so I'm wondering if he's going to get around to some of those questions. Probably not. Or we would have heard about Hassan raging on the internet about Vlad and wanting to go to war with Vlad, because that's usually what happens when people get a chance to question him on this situation. And I'm gonna be specific here in just a minute, but
one with the most influence over the community. He was a pillar. Okay, so
now Hassan come out on the internet hollering and screaming as if he was the only one that's been through something as traumatizing as this, when there are babies that get taken advantage of by priests. We all know this, right? There are babies that have been taken advantage of by their own parents and even eliminated after that. There are children very young, younger than even 5, who have been violated in the worst ways, including losing their lives by people who had a lot of power. And, the healthy thing is to realize that you're not alone. You're not the only one. And you need to get help probably for the rest of your life. For some people, for the rest of your life. But you have to get help. You just can't be out here buck wilding. You just can't.
Being up to Bambaata, was it, you mentioned it was a female. Was it females and males or just females before this?
Listen.
Females and one male.
Okay.
But see, the thing about it is with the male that I went through the experience with, he was still a child himself.
Okay. Now, I don't recall Hassan ever being specific about the male, which a lot of people had, questions about that. Why don't you say who the male is or what have you? But when Vlad originally asked him, he was talking about females. He wasn't going to bring the male up if Vlad didn't specifically ask him. Now, we know Vlad asked him because he's familiar with this story. He's familiar with this story, so he knows that Hassan has told that a male was getting into him before Bambaata did. So why would Vlad have to ask you specifically about the male? It's just so many things about Hassan in this story that is so dysfunctional. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Okay. How old was he?
About maybe 4 or 5 years.
Huh? The first male that violated him, and he had to do all of that. Now, he said he was about 4 or 5 years older than him, so he was a child himself. I don't recall ever hearing Hassan make it plain that this was what he considers a child. It could be a preteen, teenager, if we're going to go about 4 or 5 years, but we know nothing's really ever accurate in his story. Very interesting. Why did it take him so long to come with that answer? Why did it take him so long? That's really interesting.
One male. Okay. But see, the thing about it is with the male that I went through the experience with, he was still a child himself.
Okay.
Hassan, we had this beef with Hassan years ago on the internet about him saying that he hurt children. Meaning he did to them, these things we're talking about. And he said it the same way he always does, like it's nothing, and he said it harshly, and he says it loudly, and he says it repetitively. So then when people start cracking down on him, he kept saying he never said it, he never said that, he never said that. So one of the videos that did go viral was the one that I did when I made it plain, including replaying his him saying it, when he said he hurt people because he was hurt. He hurt children because he was hurt. He didn't even trust his own self around his children, including changing his daughter's diapers or changing his children's diapers. I'm not sure specifically, but he said these things. And he's been cutting the fool on the internet ever since and not getting help. Now, mind you, this is the same person that said when he confronted Bambaata and Bambaata admitted it over the phone, he told Bambaata he just wanted him to put a tombstone on somebody's grave and build a children's center. Now, when I see Hassan videos to this day, he's getting hundreds of thousands of views per video, which I understand everybody got a taste, but I just don't understand how y'all could just flock to go watch him. But for someone who has been violated as a child, preteen, teenager, to also say that he violated children and he didn't even trust his own self with his children. To saying that this person who violated him violated many children, mainly boys in the community. You want him to open up a youth center? That's part of your condition for you to stop going in on him.
How old was he?
About maybe 4 or 5 years older than me.
Maybe.
And you were how old?
About 6.
Yeah. You gotta look at his face.
All right. So you're going through all this.
And
then you meet Africa Bambaata, who's the founder of the Zulu Nation, around age 13?
12.
12.
Actually, I didn't meet him at 12 years old.
Huh?
I knew the man my whole life.
Huh?
Okay.
What? Okay, let's let him elaborate.
Well, you come by and...
Yeah, we grew up in the same neighborhood. So I would see him every single day of my life.
So Planet Rock came out in 1982. And that was his biggest song. And that became,
Now, it was distressing on the 82. Because I believe at this point, I haven't watched the entire interview. I believe at this point, Vlad has already decided that he's going to just go light on Hassan, which he has that's okay. So at the stressing of 82, to me, I think that's a clear Magoo. I just think it's Hassan. We can easily see the year he was born, when Planet Rock came out, because Planet Rock wasn't out yet, was it? When he was with Bambaata, or did it?
Kind of a staple in hip hop. I mean, it's gotten sampled hundreds of times and so forth. So by 89, he was already a hip hop superstar. He had already toured around the world and so forth. I would assume he wouldn't be living in the same place he grew up in.
That's where you would assume wrong, because you have to understand something. He's never left the hood. Ever.
That's deep. That's real big. That shows a victim mentality. Now, something else Hassan said before we get into this other last question I want to go over. Hassan talked about Bee Stinger, and he when Vlad asked him basically why he had such a problem with Bee Stinger. Now, forget those of you who don't know, when Ronald Bee Stinger came out with his story about Bambaata, this man cried and cried and cried, on the internet. He clearly was severely damaged by this situation. He helped change the laws. I believe he was the one who helped push for that law that allowed Cassie to sue. I believe that was the law we're talking about, to extend things for victims because of the statute of limitations issue. At the time that these two came out, they still had time to put charges on Bambaata. Now, Ronald B. Stinger wanted to do that, right? Hassan was openly threatening him and harassing him to not put charges on Bambaata and to hush up about his story. Now, some of y'all don't know this because y'all don't do no research, okay? Not only that, Hassan also bragged about when Bambaata got stabbed over, it was another country, by a young boy because the boy was trying to get away from him. Bambaata gave Hassan the picture, according to Hassan, of the little boy and told him to go find him and eliminate him. And Hassan was on the internet bragging about that. Okay. Which means what? Because Hassan was what? How old? Grown man married with children, right? Okay. All right. So Ronald B. Stinger Savage, right? Eventually, I look up and I see that B. Stinger he's stopped talking about it. He seems kind of cool with them again because he's like posting and expressing things like, he's very traumatized. Just like Hassan is very traumatized, but he seems like he's trying to be in that mix with them again. So I knew something was up. So Hassan says in this interview that he has a problem with B. Stinger because B. Stinger was about the money. He got his bag. Okay. How people are saying about Cassie, but let me tell y'all this. We don't know what that guy went through because just like he's in the hood, B. Stinger's in the hood, same people are in the hood, and this was a lot. So ain't no telling what he went through. And it's clear that he was not functioning well in life, right? I'm pretty sure he first needed the money. And secondly, listen, you cannot say nothing to a victim about getting some kind of payment for what that's just like saying we don't deserve no kind of reparations or anything like that. But if they make that choice, they should never be talked down upon or shamed for doing so. That is absolutely ridiculous and is victim shaming and it's abusive, right? Now, Ronald going back to that, it just shows that he's not getting the help that he needs. And that's a problem, right? But we can't necessarily knock Ronald for that because we're not that victim that Ronald is. But one thing I can't respect, I can respect the fact that Ronald Savage is doing it and he ain't hiding it. Because you see, Hassan came out here doing all this hooting and hollering, and later on you say, I wonder why he did all of this. Once you find out that Hassan remained intertwined with Bambaata into his adulthood till he was almost 30. In fact, they did not stop communicating until right before he came out. In fact, when Hassan was doing his, going on his tour, doing his storytelling, he would brag. It's on Doggy Diamonds TV. You can go see it. He would brag about he can get anything he wants from Bambaata. Bambaata always take care of him. You know, just recently, you know, I had a sick dog and he sent some herbs, some flowers, some money to get his medicine for the dog, all this kind of stuff. You know, like somebody would take care of a significant other or whatever, right? People discovered Hassan being working with and for them, doing security. Hassan has bragged about stuff that nobody really can come and vouch for, which is doing a lot of hits for him and all this kind of stuff. So he went on and on and on and on to brag about his long-standing relationship with Bambaata and, you know, the Zulu Nation. So why did you not make that clear when you came out? Because Hassan, we're not saying he wasn't victimized and he wasn't preyed upon and he wasn't a victim. What he's leaving out is the fact that he maintained this same intimate relationship with Bambaata into his adulthood. See, there's a difference there. Right? There's a difference. And this is somebody that continues to get hundreds of thousands of views when he needs to be off the internet and in therapy. This is the thing that a lot of people who know about this story, who really know about this story, can't respect about this dude. I really can't. Even if you watch this video, I'm not even an hour in yet, but when Vlad talks about Bambaata, he gushes and gushes and blushes, and he's right there with him, reminiscing all greatly. He still has this romantic type of view of Bambaata. He's always reacted to him that way. He's always spoken of him that way. To say that he wants to bust Ronald Savage's head to the white meat, because that's what he said. Okay, on camera. Because Ronald Savage is coming out and telling his story is crazy. To also say that he got a problem with Ronald Savage getting paid is crazy. Because we don't know if Hassan got paid or not. None of us are sure what he's ever done for financial gain. I don't think anyone has any paperwork on that or any explanation as to where he got his money from. You know, some seem to think he was taken care of by Bambaata and he aged out, and that's why he came out on the internet. I'm pretty sure he aged out a long time ago, but it seemed like it just ended in that aspect for him. But when he decided that he was, after the Star interview and everything, he was going to get on the phone with, this was according to him, he was going to get on the phone with Planet Rock and Bambaata, and he made a deal with him that he was going to, I think it was 3 things he asked him for. I know one was put a grave on one of his guys that passed away, put a tombstone on his grave, and he wanted him to build a youth center. And so I think move away or something. I'm not sure if there was 2 or it was a 3rd thing and what that 3rd thing possibly was, but that's easily discoverable. Then Hassan did exactly what he is on this interview, complaining about what he's saying Ronald Savage did. He said Ronald Savage came and said, hey, it was a misunderstanding and blah, blah, blah. And we know that that's not the case. We can, for those who wasn't around for this, you can go back and look at all of his interviews and the pushing that he was doing and the work. Because, see, unlike Hassan, when he was cutting the fool on the internet, Ronald Savage was actually out here trying to push for things for other victims. So, that's where the law came in at. But Hassan did the same thing. You know, so many have footages of this. You know, it went down with him and Doggy and Star News and Starnet. Listen, Hassan tried to retract his story. He began to turn his energy towards other people. And this is how we got him on the internet today, calling out people in the industry for what he feel like is crazy when he openly the most dysfunctional one of them all. It's weird. He even got mad and wanted to have beef with Star and others for continuing to talk about the situation after he brought it out and blowed it up. Same thing. Huh?
Because you have to understand something. He's never left the hood. Ever. He may have had like for example, he had a house in Connecticut, but he's always kept himself like around the village where he was able to deal with all the children. Like literally, you got the community center right there.
Oh, okay. So Ronald Savage cannot get paid, and he even, helped create a law, or push a law to get passed that helps victims be able to, come forward with their stories. But you, after what he just said, now listen what he can come on here, Hassan can come on here and say, after saying Bam never left the hood because he, the community center, he can be around the children. And don't forget all the enablers, everybody, which is everybody, right? But he's supposed to open a community center? A youth center? Who? I'm in my 3-6 months. Who running? Like who gonna run it? Hassan? Bambaata? Anybody who already been complacent and all this, ablers and abettors, and probably, according to their stories, participants. Who gonna run it? This dude need to be in therapy. So in conclusion, when Vlad asked Hassan about getting therapy, his response.
So my question to all the straight men, because for a gay young man, he may be able to get over that. That's his preference. But when you have to wear the title of homosexuality and you're a straight man, how do you get over the wicked thoughts of a grown man violating you the way he violated me? I wish the people who sit up there, and brag about how they done went through the worst of the worst in life, put yourself in my shoes. I ask you, if Bambaata put his pickle anywhere on your body, can you live with it? How do you adapt to that? How do you get over that? How do you not sit there and have a drink and then fall deep into those thoughts and not crash out?
Therapy would probably help.
But if you could find a therapist that can actually erase those nasty thoughts, please.
See, now that's my point. That's my point. See, what Hassan fails to understand is most people who have been through something similar has gotten therapy. A therapist is not going to erase any of it. But when he sit up here and talk about how can you think about this and not crash out and get drunk and go online, that the therapist can help you to find other ways to channel that energy. Him making an excuse of not to go to a therapist because a therapist can't erase what he's been through, and then complaining about people who have said, I've been through it or I've been through worse and I'm not doing the things that you're doing. This guy needs to get help. Bottom line.